This little boy is only 6 years old, but he is used to his mother's beating every day and has never seen his father's face since birth. Because his biological mother lost her life 6 years ago due to giving birth to him, and his father lost hope for life, locking himself in a room he had never left. The eldest lady treats you like an illegitimate child and has to be beaten and fed every day until her hands are covered in blood and she doesn't want to stop. Today they had a distinguished guest from your father, who was willing to leave the room. The person who came was his senior brother Jiandi Nangong. If it weren't for his help above, the name of the Sword Emperor would no longer exist in the world, and Xiaoi's appearance made everyone forget that he was the strongest Broken Moon swordsman. When the Nangong Sword Emperor came this time, he wanted to make friends with his younger martial brother with his whole family, but by the time of introduction, Miss Nangong Xian had already disappeared. Meanwhile, Xian Jiahe was hiding in a corner, his weak body unable to tolerate falling. Zhui woke up and realized that the person who came over thought it was the eldest lady and immediately apologized to him. However, in front of him was a beautiful woman, Miss Nangong Zayan. Upon seeing Xian's hair color, it was evident that he was an uncle's son, and this weak body should have been caused by the eldest lady. Xian suddenly touched his head and said, "From now on, I will protect you." It was just a sentence, but it made him cry bitterly. No one has been treating him normally since birth. He said Xian brought you out of a pink hole on the wall. And this is also the first time Jiahe has seen the world outside her belly, which is still hungry. Xian bought him a few tigers, although it was just a dish, he didn't know how delicious it was. Not long after, they were found by the guards of Nangong and dragged back. At this time, his father's illness was more relaxed. He also told the family swordsmanship handed down by Jyotian Xuanu, but he could not feel him anymore. He was also on the day when the second wife passed away due to childbirth. He dared not even look at his son's face, and his final request was to have his senior brother take care of the child for him. At this moment, Miss Zayan was also found back. Everyone didn't know who the broken child next to her was, but the eldest lady ran over and pretended to be worried about why you were doing this. "Do you know that I am very worried about you?" It sounds very sad. Xian's hateful gaze chilled her back. As soon as the guest left, she changed her temperature by 190 degrees, and the entire population of Kazakhstan began to tremble. Even more, I told you to hide well. When will you lose my face, and it will undoubtedly be a half-dead blow. In July of the same year, Xian Gong, who was blind, passed away in her sleep. Just after her husband passed away, Bek Miru gathered 20 martial artists from her family to join the White Tiger Park to help protect her and increase her influence on the estate. At about the same time, their eldest son Bek went to the Nangong family for cultivation according to his last wish, and the eldest lady became the true owner of Wulongcheng. She was frantically searching for her husband's martial arts secret script, but she couldn't do it. Then she had someone immediately throw all the things related to Xian Mirian into the storage room to make sure they couldn't be seen, and by the way, throw the prince to me. In this way, Gela was thrown into his father's belongings, and although he begged, he had never seen his father's face. Fortunately, they are a little human. They give him food and drink every day, but it is too hard. It feels like they are chewing clay instead of mantu. At this moment, Gela saw something glowing in his father's belongings, which turned out to be a mirror he had carefully wiped. Seeing himself in the mirror, I couldn't help but sigh that he was also left behind. Suddenly, he smiled at him in the mirror. What the hell is going on? 2 months passed like this, and Gela was still locked up in the cold winter, and the people outside thought he was dead. Inside, Gela curled up in a corner due to the cold, while dancing incessantly in the mirror, truly playing chess. But after watching its movements, it seems a bit familiar. This is not the martial arts of the 2 episodes of the senior brother, the Old Heaven Sword technique. If the Old Heaven Sword technique can be used correctly, the warrior will be able to circulate internal power within the body and generate yang energy around the body, thus no longer being handcuffed to death. Gela also picked up his stick and began waving his fan, forgetting to wave his sword. As time passed, he finally didn't feel cold anymore because he was able to create yang energy that surrounded his body, which was the beginning of the Old Thousand Sword technique. Perhaps repairing the warmth of your satisfaction, like a mirror, will make you stronger. Gala still wanted to close the mirror, but it began to wield swordsmanship he had never seen before, and then made a look that made him very obedient. But these moves are really difficult to use and cannot be done for a moment, and the stomach is hungry again. Gala thought carefully and realized that the 9 movements of the Qianqian sword technique were somewhat similar to the ones he had just made. However, he had never seen his senior brothers practice them before, and he refused to teach him until he was too scared to see the magic mirror. It pointed to countless mysterious handwriting appearing on the mirror, which was the most authentic mirror of the old heaven Xuannu. In the eye shadow alone, 900 words appeared on the mirror image of Xuan the day before yesterday. Although the content was extremely complex, Xian Jelha felt like running in his mind. This is an ancient sword. Time has passed like this, and spring has also arrived. People thought that Gala had died in the warehouse, and they didn't know that he was transforming and practicing the sword style of the old sky day by day. 10 years have passed like this, and he has finally achieved success in his cultivation. Today, it is also the day when his senior brother Mubak returns to Wulongchang. Along with them were young Master Chun and Miss Xian from the Nandong family, who had become a beautiful young girl of unknown numbers. Xian ignored her greeting and began searching for something. She wanted to find Jelha, but he was no longer there. On the day before successfully practicing the old heavenly sword style, he made a hole above the warehouse and left, and the old heavenly mysterious girl also disappeared from the mirror. After learning this news, the eldest lady immediately ran over. She didn't want to find you at all, because you would eventually die. A 6-year-old child cannot help him survive in the outside world in his massive body. Miss Xian found her immediately, and her eyes were filled with the same breath as when she was a child. Because the room she called Galha's room had never actually been used, it was just a disguise to cover up his disappearance. Then she immediately left again, and Mubek next to her also suspected this matter, because Miss Xian was exceptionally reasonable. He is a person who always understands others' hearts and smiles like a flower. Once the master is curious about something, she will definitely figure it out. There must be a reason why she did this. Her face became angry, and I doubted my mother. She finally said she had locked him up in the warehouse for 10 years. Once the monk goes there, but Xian is here, it turns out that due to the wizard hiding this place so deep, this dark and damp warehouse is a place where one can live in 10 years. I must tell my father that Xian is my father's disciple, so I will not spread any rumors. But the relationship between our 2 disciples is no longer the same. Meanwhile, Jiaha was strolling outside in tattered clothes, a place that had undergone significant changes compared to 10 years ago. They met the bodyguard outside Longchang again and immediately wanted to leave, but he stopped them because he was very familiar, but he couldn't go back as soon as possible. He also pressed the button tightly, and the city gate was almost closed, but when did the guards appear behind him? Jiaha had to escape through the gate, but he didn't let go. In a tremor, Jiaha thought they were all crushed by the city gate, so he grabbed it with one hand. That old man also has to stand on the portrait of the big brother. You can go wherever you go. I was wrong about it just now, there was nothing all day, and your stomach was picking some mushrooms on the street. Who is as black as a dog or a poisonous mushroom, whose body loses all its strength and falls. The next morning, the 2 of them found him lying flat here. They decided to shout at Jiaha because it was the first time they had seen someone worse than them. He was taken to Wufeng Mountain. They were mountain bandits, consisting of 6 people, known as the 6 Mountain Bandits. The leader of this place, Beng Xian, said that because they saved his life, there should be something called gratitude. Without money, one must work hard. And they also saw from the way they spoke that this guy was already 16 years old, but he was very stupid and thought he was mentally disabled. Then pull you into a sack. There are 2 types of people in this world, those who plunder others and those who constantly lose, and what kind of people they want to become. He really wants to suffer like this forever and die on her. He finally understood his decision and became the kind of mountain bandit who could control his own fate. From now on, you will be the 7th brother of Wufeng Mountain. Then let you shout out that we are the best. This is the first time Goh has felt excited in his life. My stepmother always curses this sentence, and those disciples who have never purchased from him are like warehouses in hell. They all flashed through his mind, feeling as if something had frozen on his broken heart. But this longing for a new life awakened the sleeping heavenly spirit, and he shouted, "Don't forget to give the bear a thumbs up. Oh, forget that when the sky falls, we are still the best." His screams sounded as if he was releasing everything that had accumulated inside him, lifting the fog of this place, as if marking a new beginning in GOH's life. At the beginning of GOH's life as a mountain bandit, he learned to survive on the mountains, thanks to the mountain bandits on Mount Wufeng. Those who take care of him like you. GOH can quickly open up and adapt to a new life. Their martial arts level is very low, because most of the mountain bandits on Wufeng Mountain come from civilian families, so they are accustomed to getting injured when soldiers patrol. However, they are always happy, even the smallest happiness. One day, 2 warriors came here because there were rumors of terrifying mountain bandits, only 7 of whom had a child, just like a group of people. They come from the Qinglin sect. In recent years, the Qinglin party has had a great attraction for mountain bandits and evil sects, and their joining has made Qinglin's power even stronger. And G.O.H's team also came here to apply to join, but he was obviously just a child, and in order to meet the deadline, several leaders here had to accept it. Because this is the territory of the largest gang, they only manage them, but there are men here, they will fall, haha. The next day, they held the flag of Qinglin to collect money, and everyone was very happy. Only GOH was cleaning at home, which seemed too boring for him. 3 months of household chores made him tired, so he spent this time practicing 9 days and 9 swords. Only when he became stronger can he help them. Soon, several people who wanted to give birth joined their lockdown, including the fugitives who assaulted the judge's son and the girl who fled the brothel. When she returned home, they wanted to sell her, so she decided to become a painter because it was more interesting than a prostitute. If she were here, GOH would no longer need to do anything, but would have more time to practice swordsmanship. The leader also instructed them according to their age, but Zhao Shan believed that if he had strength, his level would certainly be higher. He had already trained in the martial arts academy for 3 years. The leader also said without hesitation that if he wants to win anyone, he must win their position. From low to high, he must first defeat the promise of red hair. GOH thought to himself, how could he climb the mountain with AE without fighting, and his serious expression made everyone stand on tiptoes. Their confrontation began, and he punched with his huge body, but was easily dodged by GOH, and his attack was also missed because he used to only use sticks. As a result, he kicked him out, and now the eldest brother and second brother are tired, as if GOH has never fought before. You have been beaten all along, but now GOH is not fighting back like before, he just gave you a groundhog. He even thought he had one, unaware that he was the king, when the whole person emitted a dangerous smell and came here to dry blood. He himself should also be afraid, but a child who had been hit so many times but was not injured at all, then rushed forward with all his strength to attack him. At this moment, the desire to climb the mountain with his brothers ignited a kind of weather inside him. With each punch and push, the power was thunderous. He lay motionless on the ground. The eldest and second brothers saw this scene, both walking towards GOH and suddenly lying down, but after all, he was the final winner. Because my elder brother gave him a big knife this time, and we can go up the mountain together tomorrow, which makes him very happy. Later on, my second brother personally taught you the ghost-killing sword technique. I really like you, and he usually doesn't teach anyone how to kill ghost swords. The next day, a caravan passed by Wufeng Mountain, and their homeowner was also worried about some mountain bandits on the mountain. As he spoke, several tall and smelly people appeared, and the boss exclaimed, "This is the territory of the Qinglin mountain thief on Wufeng Mountain. If you want to pass, you must pay the toll." The guard immediately burst into laughter. 10 of them dared to say it was Qinglin, and we merchants were not rootless melons. We could pick them whenever we wanted. The boss immediately asked everyone to shoot and attack him, but this guy was also too strong and could easily block the arrow. Big Brother then realized that there were such strong guards among merchants, and this time he offended his ancestors. He immediately shouted that if you come, you don't want to leave. Their guards are ready. The mountain bandits here are already very powerful, but if they turn around and run away, they cannot escape. The eldest brother decided to stay to distract them and let them escape, but the redhead rushed forward first. The guard still looks down on him. He's just a child going back to eat a wet nurse and posing as a mountain bandit. You are cool now, you will die. On Mount Wufeng, no one will encourage us. The old bodyguard is now a silly young man who loves to pose too much. Jiaohe just screamed that if he was going to die, stop talking nonsense. His face was already bruised and his speed was as fast as cutting it off with a sword, but he gently cut it off. All those who see this must stand in a twisted position, understanding that what happened just now was that at that moment, Jiaohe dodged and waved his sword at an extremely fast speed, without even seeing his attack. He now walked over in a fit of anger and asked him to grab a good weapon before fighting again. You just aimed his weapon, but if you aimed his neck, he would be aiming now. At this moment, he realized that the person in front of him was a master, so he kowtowed and begged for mercy, because the wound on his neck was caused by sword energy. This is not difficult, they only need to pay additional fees. When they saw this scene, they looked like idiots. Later, when the elder brother asked him where he learned this move, Jiaohe asked the second brother to teach him the saber technique just now, which made him foolish. This is just an ordinary knife technique, he can use it to cut off that guy's sword, it's too illusory. Then he was asked to use the colorful ginger knife technique to show the brothers once again. Jiaohe also refused the move of the stunning ginger knife, using such terrifying power to directly cut off the big hand in front of him. The brothers have already crooked their mouths, it's too fierce. Then he began to want to learn the color knife from his second brother, but he also accepted it and was curious about the identity of this red-haired person. In this way, all merchants passing through Wufeng Mountain have to pay a toll. Some stubborn people were directly betrayed by Jiaohe, and even the guards of the officials were unable to defeat him. The government has issued an arbitrary order to Jiaohe, and rumors about the 5 thieves who sealed the mountain have also spread. Therefore, many people come here to apply to join, and if they join, the number of people in the camp will reach 25. 3 months have passed, and the scale of Wufengshan Mountain stronghold has become larger. The reputation began to spread to Hunan, and the Red Opera became increasingly popular, accompanied by more and more enemies. They have collected a lot of intelligence, and it is said that the stronghold leader of Wufeng Mountain used the heaven and earth peach technique learned from the medicine seller. The deputy stronghold leader learned the bones of the kneeling sword technique in the temple, which made him laugh. But their reputation in Qinglin is also not average. On Xin and they have a gang, and the bandits have Qinglin. Satan's enemies are a very powerful enemy. The next day, the farmer summoned everyone to arrange a promotion match, and anyone who wanted to compete could come up. A few days ago, the elderly were also there to challenge, and the challenger would have to start from 7th place. The old man with white hair is starting to talk about becoming a first-class stronghold leader again. Our entire men are notorious people like Qinghe River. Why be afraid of a former vendor? This makes the old waiters very angry, but everything must be done according to the rules. They must first challenge Jiaohe. Now he had woken up like a spirit of war, reaching a terrifying aura that caused several old men to run amok, with a terrifying expression on his face. Now none of them dare to step forward alone. The 2 old men with bruised noses and swollen faces say that it's too cold in summer, so they should have a feeling of paying tribute to their brothers. Children also have to stand, why didn't they say that at the beginning? A person was directly pushed onto the battlefield, and in Jiaohe's terrifying expression, he was able to use his brain. The old guy of the other party only needs to be unarmed, and if you carry a sword, you're afraid he won't survive. At the beginning of the game, he rushed forward with all his might, but was blown away by a checkpoint. The other 4 had already been caught, and who was the next victim? The person who hit the head also followed the original practice of unarmed combat, but ended up being dressed and knocked down with a punch. The third one is a bit more stupid, wanting to be defeated by you with a weapon. 2 old guys are fighting, and they are still fighting for time because none of them are willing to be beaten. Old Baggio immediately took a measure and told him not to use weapons with the painter, so he didn't use a sword either. But that fan was his weapon, and with that fan, Buqiao became a notorious devil in Hunan province. Unable to commit suicide by fighting with bare hands, Jiaohe also realized that the fan was abnormal. He was really angry and punched him hard, daring to cheat in front of you. Everyone is shocked now. I don't know if he has teeth or not. There's only one person left, he exclaimed in horror. You were just joking, Seven brother, please be lenient. Jiaohe also agreed to spare him, but if he dares to challenge your senior brothers next time, dig out the wooden hole. Although it's very tree-like, he still needs to bow to them. This is an injury. It is rumored that 2 of the 3 major ghosts in Hunan City have defected to Wufeng Stronghold, and this guy is Li Muyang, the great ghost of Hunan City. The bandits of Wufeng Mountain have already made too many threats, and now is a good opportunity to kill those 2 old men again. This is 1 arrow and 2 birds. He is so confident because the number of 90 people is 3 times that of 5 copycats. That night, Wufeng's stronghold was suddenly attacked, and countless fires shot in. He kissed cigarettes to catch rabbits, because there was only 1 exit from 5 mountain strongholds, but the farmer asked everyone to build a second wall quickly. The big ghosts outside of Hunan should also marvel at the group of people who reacted quickly and were rushed in by so much fire, but still no one ran out. He had to fall into the mine due to the interior of the new wall while playing with his brain trust tactics. If those mountain bandits know how to use their brains, there is another way to kill them. He walked over directly with a big axe, and the people inside started shouting again. An idiot fantasized about coming over. Is he planning to chop firewood with the axe? This makes the past worse. You can already see from your gaze that it is Li Muyang, the leader of Nanyang merchants and the swordsman of heaven. That guy didn't know if it was a stupid illness or if he was born with an axe and broke their wooden wall. Suddenly, the wall really broke, and it turned out that Jiaohe had done it. He blasted him away with terrifying force. Just now, holding his brother's sword, his hands kept getting rough. This kid is too strong. Jiaohe angrily asked him, it's the person who burned us. Despite the large number of people, you have suffered a disastrous defeat to the point where you need a rocket. How do you plan to compensate now? He immediately compensated for the sneeze with an owl. You acted as a threat on the Wufeng Mountain I hit, representing Hunan City. Do you think this will calm me down? I don't know how you defeated Sim Seong Gak and Baek Jiho, but I am stronger than them. They immediately wiped each other's techniques, and he used countless avatars formed by the Jiao-style lane position immortal to attack him, but they were all blocked. Then he gave him another blow, causing him to step back, and this guy was also startled. Boundless Lane is a martial arts skill of the Huashan sect, and a mountain thief cannot escape this kind of pose. At this moment, he shouted again, asking him where he learned martial arts from. Of course, the ghostly sword technique of the second brother was passed down personally. The imperial edict style of that palace person is more pleasing to the eye. Can I take it first? He even shouted at him, and before he finished speaking, Gelh successfully copied this sentence and messed up everything. How could it be? Borderless Hudong is the final pose and also the secret technique of the 6 harmonies sword technique of the Huashan sect. The peak of silence may seem like a simple knife, but in reality, there are countless changes in this illumination. Even the disciples of Huashan find it difficult to learn it, and his proud efforts over the years have been ruined by Gelh before his eyes. Is this guy a monster? He can replicate others' martial arts at a glance, but he mistakenly thinks that all his avatars are real. This clearly surpasses someone who has been studying for decades. He was beaten to the ground, causing him to burst into tears, begging for mercy, and promising full compensation before leaving. In this battle, 5 factions won. With this victory, the reputation of Wufeng Mountain Stronghold rose like smoke, and the number of people joining continued to increase. The various forces have been on tenterhooks about this, but they dare not take action because they still suspect that Gelh is a disciple of the leader of the Qinglin sect. If the sky-breaking demon god were not a child, how could he be so strong? The leader of the Chamber of Commerce, Ma Su, a swordsman named Chuangmings, came to Huguang. He was going to Wudong Mountain to seek help from Mo, and he was also an outsider disciple. His master is the elder of Wudong's Heiji. The Wudong sect is one of the top 10 sects, and its inner disciples have reached a level that we cannot even imagine. If I could bring a few people, what is that little red-haired guy? And the day he was defeated was also the day when Wufeng Mountain ran all the way. Now Gaira is taking a few apprentices to eat and drink, and running away with the influence of Wufeng Mountain is no longer short of money. He has also bought a new set of clothes to see if he can even cut classes. And the girl in front of her, named Sobek, only joined last week. She was threatened by a hooligan to marry him, so she ran away. At this moment, he found this place again, and he shamelessly threatened that if she continued to escape, there would be only a dead end. Gala is also about to appear. Today, I am happily giving people 10 seconds to press the change button, otherwise don't blame me for my irritability. The person next to him is still very calm in eating and drinking, and he doesn't forget to remind him that the person who will die has never heard the song of Pai Song's running. She also said that we are the 5 peaks of Shanpao, and the person in front of you is the strongest Gaira in Henan City. The 10-second countdown is now over. With a shock, his body was kicked away, and even the elderly man behind him was almost knocked down by the power of this blow. He is the elder Chuanji of Wudong, and the leader of the Barbarian Merchant Association also came over to call for his master. You bastard, stop lying to me. I'm just taking a walk, breathing some air, and then I have to go. The entire place has been destroyed by you. Fortunately, they brought enough money to compensate the shopkeeper, and being a mountain thief also makes sense. Then he said that in order to make up for the mental trauma, he must teach them both martial arts. At the same time, the elder of Wudong has realized that GLH is not the territory of the sky-breaking demon god, because with his personality, he will definitely not hide such a small monster. It's not nonsense to go downhill this time. I didn't expect to encounter a martial arts genius in such a place. 3 days ago, on Wudong Mountains, Lord Siju returned it to his chief of staff, Mr. Men Chuanji. He came here because those self-swollen mountain bandits were from Wufeng Mountain, posing a threat, which made the Chamber of Commerce very headache. If he sent another disciple to protect peace in Henan and help his disciples, wouldn't that be a thing? Lord Chuanji is responsible for this matter on his own, because over the past decade, he has often divined and predicted good luck in the future. This morning, he calculated the Great Pavilion divination again, which must have been an opportunity given to him by God. If Ji Zhuha can be accepted as a disciple, he will definitely become the strongest swordsman in Wudong, and the reputation of the faction will be like clouds at that time. At the same time, the appreciation of Wufeng Mountain Stronghold has also been completed, which is too spectacular because the development of Wufeng Mountain Stronghold is too fast. Therefore, the Dabayan camp helped them build more roads to adapt to their current strength. To fill in these new connoisseurs, Pangyan Market Camp invited carpenters, soldiers, and their families. And in the Jizuha Bamboo Forest, they are also teaching their 2 younger sisters Kung Fu. They first need to practice breathing techniques. He recited a pile of 300 words and asked them to stand there. How could they learn so much at once? Then tell them to close their eyes and concentrate, take a moment to breathe, and they will do it. This is also the first time he has seen someone practicing, and then he has also devoted himself to it. His body floated in the air, which surprised the 2 sisters. He was immersed in the swordsmanship of the old thousand swords. When encountering difficulties, his shadow appeared again in the mirror. The market helped him, and his swordsmanship posture was becoming increasingly perfect. Outside him, many yellow flowers appeared, shocking the 2 sisters. What kind of realm could this be achieved? When they returned to the mountain stronghold, only their boss was here, and it turned out that they had received the news that Lord Chuanji was coming here, and most of them fled. He cannot solve this problem because the enemy is too strong. It is time to end the Wufeng Mountain stronghold. Lord Chuanji is an elder of Wudong, and he is the leader of the Wudong sect. Even once the strongest in Hubei, not only his disciples are also very strong. They couldn't wait to die here, only 10 people were left, but they also fell into despair. At this moment, Jiaohe asked the boss again, can an adult use a leaf to chop people? If he is not as strong, you can still call him, but you cannot put your brother in danger. he must immediately announce that from now on, the Wufeng Mountain stronghold will be disbanded to protect everyone's lives, even if he is unwilling. I am the leader and cannot leave here alone to live or die with them. When the wall collapsed, everyone stood up. This is their home, and they will not let anyone destroy it. What does your brother plan to do here after announcing the dissolution of the mountain stronghold? Shouldn't we all die together? That night, they rebuilt the walls and took turns standing guard. Even if they died, they had to live and die together here. On the same evening, they cut their blood and swore to each other, wishing a lifetime of happiness and suffering with anyone who suffered. The next morning, Lord Chuanji's army began to attack. While his brothers were still sleeping, Jiaoha had already woken up and could not fall asleep because he was worried about the attack. As if he couldn't sleep, they made some relaxing movements, and just then, the soldiers came outside. I am the leader of the MasterCard Merchant Association, sang Muchuan. Please surrender. If you continue to resist, we will turn this place into a river. In the past, you couldn't blame the Jiaoha River for rushing up on your own, but the number of enemies was also too large. He thought, no matter what, he would stick out his nose and start shouting at him. He thought we would be afraid of running away because of some old people, and he thought he could fool us. No matter who is stronger than Lord Chuanji, we don't have to be afraid. Of course, he couldn't let his reputation be insulted and just blow the old guard away, and then suddenly press him. Fortunately, Yu Jiaoha responded in time. This is a terrifying sword. What kind of person is Mr. Chuanji? I can feel that sword bringing tremendous power, but I am even stronger. Yes, you have a very powerful voice. I have a lot of talent for people of that age, but you sound a bit out of line. At this moment, he also felt that the old man was very familiar, as if he had seen him in a restaurant the day before. Although he felt strong, he was not his opponent, and he definitely wouldn't chop a person with just one leaf. Their battle has begun, and their speed is very fast. Every time their technology produces a huge impact, it is a battle that ordinary people cannot see. After the old man couldn't do anything about his movements, he began to think carefully again. Is this kid a disciple of the sky-breaking demon god? He immediately asked him who his master was. Jiaoha didn't answer and directly raised his sword into the air. When his aura began to change, there was also a gossip circle behind him, which was a sword technique that only martial elders could impart Tai Chi sword skills. A single blow could cut his hand, but at this moment he moved back to attack him, and then he chopped out a powerful sword energy to repel him. At this moment, he was running in the air, and a terrifying sword from the medical world struck him, causing a great shock and sending everyone flying away. It took him a long time to engage in the battle, but the battle was over. Suddenly, a pillar of light behind the smoke startled him, and a giant dragon appeared behind Jiaoha. If you still call the old man how to fight so weakly without telling anyone, then I have to fight hard. He rushed towards him with a tree, but was repelled by the sword. His strength was running low and could only be exhausted on the last afternoon. Both of them seemed dead, and he was a failure. He had seen this familiar feeling many years ago, and his name was Xian Jiaoha. He also recognized him as the son of the strongest swordsman, so he lost. In this battle, Wu Fengshan won, and people kept cheering for victory. The leader of the Manji Chamber of Commerce couldn't believe what was happening in front of them. His master is so strong that he unexpectedly lost the position of a little guy. He even told him not to teach him, to confront you, otherwise he wouldn't know when. This immortal immediately spread throughout Hunan province, and a person who became an elder of a sect could not be defeated by such a mountain bandit. The boy who was rumored to be a sword repair thief was originally a monster, and now there are no forces that dare to compete with Wufeng Mountain. In order to uphold the honor of the Wanzhou Shang Gang and the Wudong sect, the Wanzhou Shang Gang believed that the leader of Wutian had made every effort to keep those who witnessed silent. But the news of the failure of the Wanzhou Shang Gang quickly spread throughout Hunan province, and as Shan Pao's reputation grew, the 10 remaining people were also known as the 5 Winds and 10 Heroes. The people of the Chenglin sect are also paying attention to this matter. At first, they only ran against the deadline, but didn't expect it to be so strong. And the Green Forest Conference will also be held in a month, and he will go there to see if they are qualified to become Green Forest. At this moment, those who had previously escaped from Wufeng Mountain were running back again, and he frantically begged to make the leader very spicy. But this guy reversed 180 degrees and took them in, not only thanking him for trusting them again. He did so because dozens of other runners gradually emerged and began to expand their power, while we were still seen as a ragtag group in the jungle. I used to feel angry about it. In order to prevent Gala from taking on such a large responsibility, we must be recognized as Qinglin. At the Qinglin conference, they must prove that the people running on Wufeng Mountain are not a mob. And when they leave, they need people here, so the runner will accept the person who left them at the beginning. At the same time, Gala was meeting with Chunzi. He tried to drive him out, but he grew old and had thick skin, and he kept pestering him. Then he began to talk about the ceremony of poverty and was called a rising star, and Wudong was the best in the world. I have developed a profound inner strength and mastered the great Vodang. I have been practicing Tai Chi Huijian for 30 years, but no matter how I do it, I cannot continue to turn to the three poles. Soon, he wants to learn from you and question. This is starting to scream again. I can't transfer the magic method to you. It was transferred to me by my second brother himself. Chuanji fell down upon hearing this. Who wants to learn Kung Fu in that temple? He just wants to watch you practice. Then he suddenly charged up and punched him. Although he didn't hit anyone, the bamboo forest behind him was already broken, making him very curious. They decided on a deal, and if he didn't give him advice, he would point out the lack. He also realizes that you are very strong, but he doesn't know that he is strong. If you understand this essence, your martial arts will also be deeper. Finally, GLH agreed. In the next few days, they trained together, and he was very friendly to the children, but he didn't like them. Because just like their half-brothers, they are always cunning and joking. But Chuanji found that this mountain fortress was not like a green forest, and the people here were very kind. He also personally carried firewood to escort, which is obviously not the job of an aristocratic elder. This place is very unique from other Shanghai villages, where people come from Taoist or bandit backgrounds, but the people here are those who escape due to difficulties in life. She also went up the mountain because she had been sold for a long time. She also told him how the brothers in Wufeng Mountain Stronghold saved GLH's life, and he regarded this place as his own home to protect. At the same time, the Moon River Fairy, who was defeated by your father back then, has returned. I have never forgotten the hardships I experienced on that day 20 years ago, Sword King. Among the Moon Swordsmen, except for them, I will make all powerful factions kneel before the Moon Fairy. At the same time, the two elders of the three major demon cities in Hunan are declining after learning that the Wufeng Mountain Stronghold has defeated the Manyu Chamber of Commerce. They thought they would be replaced by Yuwang Deli and joined the Changlin faction, but now everything has gone into the river and into the sea. Then he put on his shoes and returned to Wufeng Mountain Stronghold. Naturally, he was surprised by the people present. When he saw Gelha's dragon plate sword technique, he thought it was dug up by several people who fell down. But at first glance, old Xan could see that this was what swordsmanship was all about, and there was only one person who could do it, and that was him. The eldest and second brothers have already learned about the return of the five of them, and they are the people who left the mountain fastness at the beginning. Now, as Gale Hatch's teachings have become strong enough to defeat him, the Starling is challenging him to return to this place. I want to show him that I am not the former Li Chushan. He thought he was still rubbing it on like before, but he was hit and flew away by a punch from a Starling. These guys just rushed over and he wasn't that strong. But the old man doesn't just know that his nose is one of the three demons in Hunan, and attacks can subdue him. Just as he really wanted to kill the octopus, old Chuanji, to save people, he was immediately panicked. My attack could not have been blocked by a finger. Besides Xian, there are also such people. After learning that Chuanji's face was filled with sweat and fear, the rumor of his defeat was true. Gala walked over without a word and gave him a massage. He was still beaten hard and swore to pay the price for this boy, making him feel a terrifying force ahead. Running over, I realized that old Chuanji was training with Gala, and a huge vibration swept through the entire mountain. And Lao Chuanji has also become much stronger here these days, and this sword has such terrifying destructive power. I thought Gale had lost, but he wasn't injured, just warming up. He immediately threw out the second heavenly sword French fire heart, which shook the sky with a single sound, as if it were being carried away by the young two. Now, if they don't have it yet, Chuanji has the right belt, and Gale's power is rapidly growing. He has also decided to leave now. If he gets injured due to the competition with the young Xia, I will stay here for a few more months. I also have to go back and protect my elder seat. I will return to the pleasant time of living here, and he will always remember this favor. Within 3 months, they will complement each other. It is more meaningful to observe Gale's growth, as he will wait for the day when he will appear among the top warriors in the Central Plains martial arts world. When summer arrived, he had already quietly left, and that guy was really an A-belt when he saw the scene just now and started reversing to retaliate. On a fat man who appeared at Wufeng Ranch, he was attacked by a female bear because it had killed its child. He is the Yinfeng Cat King who brutally killed the female bear with just one blow. Introduce you Blind Hao, the leader of the Green Forest sect, who is the leader of the Sky-Breaking Demon Army. He is one of the strongest players who has never been defeated. He used to be in Shaolin Monastery, but he didn't want to shave his mulberry hair. In addition, he had a very strong physique and wanted to become a Buddha. But occasionally he felt that the chicken legs were too delicious, and he couldn't help but serve them. He was wiping the Buddha statue, but unexpectedly he broke it and took out an ancient dark sky water Luotian sutra from inside. Then, the devil breaking the sky left Shaolin Monastery and wandered around the world for a long time. Then he ascended the position of the main stage of the Green Forest and set off waves in the Jianghu. After absorbing the 12 best Taoist disciples in the world, their power threatened the elders of the 7 sects and 2 sects, forming the 12 demon lords of the Green Forest, known as the Death God. Fat people are one of them. He has already gone to Wufeng Mountain and is running back and forth, sitting and calling for the mountain to run around. That's all, and Gale is also practicing in seclusion. He was actually overslept by his older brother, and they were afraid that Gale would have to have his teeth fixed when he saw his throat at this moment. Those sculptors who only know about girls may be caught by 5 generations, caravans, and 7 secondary factions. Remember this. Don't slander our Qinglin's name. Then he directly points to sheep and wants to indulge in sexual activity with them. Fortunately, his brothers shifted their attention in a timely manner, and he only remembered the task now. This time, he came to confirm whether they were qualified to use the reputation of Lu Lin. If there is no qualification, everything will be destroyed. Because he gave up his face in Hunan, the gentle breeze of Wufeng Mountain stronghold is truly commendable. It has made a significant contribution to increasing the reputation of Qinglin. If he kills all of you, it would be a pity. So Lu Lin has officially acknowledged your 5 Winds Mountain stronghold, and he is here to invite them to participate in the Lu Lin conference in Jiangnan. This is what the male lead hopes for. Everyone immediately holds a banquet, leaning against the boss. For this matter, the old man has been fantasizing about several sisters of Gelha, and then roared to bring the 2 girls from the cottage. Otherwise, today's Wufeng Mountain stronghold would be flat. Despite their efforts to prevent it, the fat man still fiercely grabbed his own milk sheep and continued to rely on himself. The farmer stood up to stop him, and the old man even planned to attack him. Everything in the stronghold belongs to the stronghold leader, but he doesn't offer it. Big brother and second brother cry and explain that everything is for your safety. He even cursed the drunken old man, didn't go back to sleep, and dared to make trouble here. He saw that he was just a child in the mountain fastness, but thought he had just woken up and was still dreaming, so he didn't take action. With his position in the Green Forest, he couldn't bully children. He asked the other 2 sisters to come over and continue to rely on themselves, but was called over by Joha, Chubby. He immediately unleashed an astonishing momentum and rushed towards you, until the person who begged for mercy slowly died. But the old man's magnetic field was easily destroyed by Qiao Ha, and he is now about to cross. Who the hell is he, who hasn't been able to win those mediocre ones from the 7 schools and 2 schools just now? After careful consideration, both the farmer and the deputy farmer were tacit. How can they pacify this Hunan county? The reputation of Wufeng's stronghold is all due to this boy. It is interesting that this lock has not used up its own strength for a long time. Someone with skills, laugh loudly and call the old bastard's name. It really looks like a male dog and the seasonal breeder, so it's called Lecherous Cat King. The fat owl rushed forward and used the unique skill of Yin Feng by Gugua to attack him, with a momentum like a big snake. He just blocked the divine city with his own poison gate 2 fingers, and the old man wanted to make an exception by using the secret move of the heavenly hand Luo Jinjing. This is a martial arts skill taught by his master, the demon lord of breaking heaven, which has never failed. Even the sect elders were demoted in their deeds, but now they have to deal with a young boy. However, when his moves were easily bounced off by Jiao Ha, his mouth was already dry, and then he immediately and tightly prepared to throw a punch, like a giant dragon. He even saw that the god of death was preparing to welcome him under the yellow spring, but fortunately, the stronghold leader shouted loudly to spare his life. If he dies here, his chance to participate in the green forest of Chunfeng's stronghold will also be shattered. Although he hasn't hit the punch yet, he's already weak in both hands and feet. This kid is indeed a monster. If it weren't for the farmer who saved his life just now, he would definitely have boarded the night sign. Although he had not yet unleashed all his strength, his fighting spirit seemed to have run out, as he felt as if he had been overwhelmed by the demon lord standing in front of his master. Then he begged me to grind it and make a meal, big brother. I really believe that please drink well next time. Then he asked him to greet his brothers and leave, because his life had to do the same, so he wouldn't wait for you to sleep anymore. The fat man needs to report this matter to the chief stronghold leader, otherwise the Green Forest Conference will be over. Soon, they set off for Anjiang to attend the Qinglin Conference. They had to stop in several villages to go to Wannan, where there was a reasonably priced place where Nangong was packing up their luggage. It is not beneficial to engage in a battle with the 7 sectly men before the Qinglin Conference, and it is absolutely not possible to have a disagreement with the Sword King Nangongbu, one of the world's top 10 experts. Everyone must disguise themselves as Qing people to avoid trouble, and the 2 girls in the 10 heroes rarely wear beautiful clothes when they receive such programs. When our eldest brother is properly dressed, he is also very neat without the chable. Sisters can only see the evidence. The farmer instructed those who stayed to guard the mountain fastness to call anyone they met on the way from the Feishin Gate in Hunan. That night they met Jiang Hanyan, a veteran of the soda caravan, who wanted to go with them, but was refused. At first glance, it can be seen from the old man that their caravan seems to have just experienced something and cannot eat stray bullets. And he has never heard of the name of Hunan Feishin Gate, and it exudes an elegant and powerful power in the world, especially in Jiaohe. If the 5 Fengchun people who ran with them had no doubt died, the swordsman of the caravan would not have been able to stop the pursuit of Liao Mingmen. He had to take out all his assets so that they could let him go with him, but the boss refused because he had no food in his mouth or free food. The caravan must face strong enemies in order to produce gold, and if they participate in it, it will be very dangerous. Although a bit regretful, they have already done it and cannot be dragged into chaos. At this moment, the choir came to attack them. After giving Shan a desperate attempt to block her sword, everyone was also in a daze, especially the one who wiped his hand. He was immediately kicked to pieces by Gala on the aloe vera. Everyone had to leave immediately, but it was too late and the thugs arrived. Gale Ha is responsible for handling all of this, so that everyone can take Gale Seng to the treatment village. Everyone rushed towards him, but everyone was beaten to pieces by the aloe vera. He asked them who they were, and they were beaten up before they could speak. How could they answer? Their leaders realized that he was not a suitable person, and they all rushed forward. At this moment, the group of people from the village leader also stopped, and the elderly Sim Ka realized that the group of people from the Chamber of Commerce in front seemed to have been arrested. To cure Zhao Shan, they had to go over. The people of Yumingjiao asked him to hand over some things. There is a more terrifying person behind him. He is the white-headed demon king Ung Jeki. He is very strong and hasn't woken up yet, but he is very strange. He just fished out the stick stuck on the ground, and all the samurai were engulfed by the black hole. On Jiaohe's side, He had already used the first flying dragon of the 9 heavens and 9 swords, Tang Tian, to destroy them privately. Although he had already defeated everyone, he also suffered minor injuries, then immediately catch up with everyone. The injury of the 8th brother has become increasingly dangerous, and he has been scouting everywhere, with no other way to go, and the warriors of the caravan have also been secretly destroyed. They are forcing the shopkeeper to hand over a bowl of Ganoderma lucidum. His face is turning pale now, looking at his daughter to see who can persist until brown. I will command my people to have fun with your daughter. They immediately took action, only seeing the girl's cries for help. At this point, he had to hand over the bowl of spirit spiders, but with this, they would become stronger and stronger. I don't know if the nightmare of 20 years ago will happen again, but now I have no choice. After getting him, he still can't spare you. Please enjoy it, handle it well, and kill all the people here. Their cries for help grew increasingly mournful, and at this point, the runner could no longer help but shout out for something for their women. Fai Long Meng's Peng Xian will ruin you. The assassins immediately began attacking him, but they were also too bad and were cut down by their master. Everyone must now declare that they have sworn to die together. Both sides are engaged in a fierce competition, and old Xin now wants to showcase his high cat skills. The eldest brother is now running to the people in the business group and asking if anyone in the group knows medical skills. He wants to ask the 8th brother. When everyone was tired and there were still many assassins, the situation became worse and worse, and the boss immediately punched him. Now, under the guidance of Gel Ha, it is very powerful, but it cannot be imagined to be so powerful. Perhaps this is Tian Lai, but it was discovered a bit late. At this point, the boss apologized to everyone again because he also had a wife and children, a father he couldn't bear. Everyone didn't blame him, but instead, his red spirit soared and he was not humiliated. As long as they could fight against old age for a while, Gailha would come soon. At this point, one should also personally take action, emitting a sense of danger throughout the person. They also received intelligence that the entire exquisite combat team had been defeated. A combat team is an elite force trained to eliminate 7 Yimin factions. If they can destroy that team, we cannot win. After being beaten in the face by the white-headed demon lord, the captain took action to kill his group of people, and almost all of them were killed along the way. The game has only officially started now, and the rancher has rushed to attack him and the shepherd, but her knife was cut off by him and then he punched her again. And with his powerful round knife, it can cause damage even close and close. With his power, everyone went up the river at the same time without being quickly knocked down. At this point, Lao Xian couldn't help but come. He was the strongest among them, only for a while. The two immediately engaged in a fierce battle, but soon old Xian was blown away by him, and everyone fell into a helpless despair. Old Sam laughed again at this moment, making him puzzled. He immediately felt that the terrifying breath was coming towards him, and it was Joha who had returned. Before his death, he was able to speak, and only those who believed this boy could do something dared to give orders. Everyone seemed to have risen from the dead now, with no trace of worry on their faces. Even the white-headed demon king felt confident from where they had come from. Everyone believes in their failure. You fly over to him now and ask him who hurt our AE. He had veins all over his face and rushed towards him, but was interrupted by a punch from Jiaha, who even punched him fiercely. He thought to himself that there was a demon king present, so he couldn't lose face, and then he rushed towards him crazily. I saw Jiaha's hand ready to swing his sword and charged directly to confront him, carrying one of his weapons and being blown away. At this moment, he was preparing to go to work and watch bananas, and the white-headed demon lord had already taken over the afternoon for him. Even his strength was pushed away, and this guy was in a daze as he was pushed back by an unknown boy. He also had to seriously throw the 2 iron pillars of soul, seizing magic skill onto him now. Old Xian immediately asked him to leave, but it was already too late. When the black scent enveloped the entire body, no one could survive the afternoon of the white-headed demon lord. He was trapped inside and felt as if his body had fallen into a swamp, unable to exert himself. And this is exactly the unique skill he used. no one in the Jianghu can defeat the soul-snatching magic skill, a technique of capturing the opponent's shadow and soul. From the moment he became the 10 fighting demon king of Yumingjiao, he was almost invincible. Surrounded by a hellish unknown space, Xian Jiuhua felt for the first time that death was so close, and in this hopeless situation, there seemed to be no way out. He remembered Chuanji and reminded himself to be careful with spells, as long as those who destroyed the primitive stage could escape. He remembered 4 strange things around him, which must be the source of this spell. Only by destroying it can he escape. The 7th dragon of the 9-day style, Zijijiang, was launched, and people outside also noticed a terrifying vibration. After an hour, his magic was destroyed. At this point, the white-headed demon king was already restless, and it was impossible for him to fall on the shadow of the soul-seizing magic skill alone. Can he use his own strength to escape? His subordinates of Scar still don't understand the current situation and thought that the demon lord was about to launch a big move, but look at how much his crooked face looks like. This is true, teachers. The white-headed demon king has been completely engrossed in sending the choir members to fight with GLH, but can they? Even the combat team failed, and reconnaissance teams like them had no doors. They rushed towards him at the same time, but it was like salt to the person who cut him off. And at this moment, the army was also afraid, admitting that even if they tried their best, they were not GLH's opponent. Although the lake is indeed large, it is not easy for such a young expert to appear. He can become a stumbling block in the teaching world, and I must kill him. However, his most important task is to take away the 8 beads order, and if the existence of the teachings is exposed at this moment, it will be dangerous. Before fleeing, he even went to the caravan leader to kill and seal off. So, GLH launched the 8th move of the old heavenly sword. The old dragon turned over, and its power came like a giant dragon. The unique skill of the old heavenly sword, which is believed to have completely disappeared from the dimension, is once again born, stronger than it was in heaven 20 years ago. As a result, each team was defeated, leaving only the one who wanted to escape with countless gunshot wounds. The white-headed demon lord also ran faster and was about to die. Brothers' injuries are not minor. We must first cure the 5 wins and 10 heroes. If they want to blame themselves for not coming early, the brothers running on Wufeng Mountain are the most important to them. GLH has decided to be strong and protect the people, and the current caravan owner was already in critical condition before his death, and he wanted to say a few words to his benefactor. Thanks to you, our business group and Xiaxia's son were able to avoid this righteous disaster, and Xiaxia cannot repay it. But in the Suzhou business, we will definitely repay your kindness. We told them something, asking them to take their family to a safe place and take a little breath. Everyone accepted his final wish. After a few days, they started to drive again, and went straight ahead until they came to the site of the red car running in Bagong Mountain scenic spot. Until now, only their identities as Wufeng Mountain runners have been publicly disclosed, and they shouldn't have been robbed together with mountain bandits. At the same time, the white-headed demon king also came to the teaching world, and he had brought 8 spirit beads, as well as 6 other demon kings present. Led by the Moon River Fairy, who caused the chaos 20 years ago. The establishment of the 7-headed demon king was a decision of great teachings, and we are not yet aware of his actions. There is no need to rush to give the heavenly head demon king a soul surrender. Since 7 micro-hundred-head demon kings have been created, it will be a matter of time before the remaining 8 beads are used to strengthen the 10-head demon king. If all 700-headed demons are here, we can use this opportunity to pacify the world. The 100-headed demon lord also revealed that half of the other dark teams had already suffered casualties in this mission, and even the other dark team leaders, the 10-headed demon lord, could not withstand his blow. Although I am a magician, I believe I can defeat anyone. This surprised everyone. He had never seen this kind of martial arts before in summer, and he rotated 9 times in the high air, trying to descend like a thunderbolt. Ning Xianzi immediately realized that this was what defeated her 20 years ago. At the same time, Hilario, who was running 8 meters away from the main heavenly blood department, was blocking people and asking them for 200 taels of money to spit out if they wanted to survive. The boss thought to himself that these people are too greedy. Usually, they only charge 20 taels for looting, and they need to have a human touch. They were still discussing the size of silver to give to these guys, which was too much loss. They even laughed loudly, making the mountain bandits think these people are idiots. Before they could finish speaking, they were beaten away by him with gold coins. $1 per person was enough to make them abuse. That's how they can no longer participate in the Green Forest Conference. Forget the black ones and forget the red ones. At this moment, the Moon Fairy also recognized his true identity. 20 years ago, under the command of the religious leader, she came to the Jiangnan area to establish a religious community. At that time, he and the small driver of Nangong used this recipe as substitutes to cause trouble. Since then, this arrogant person has been referred to as the Moon Swordsman. But now she is much stronger than before, and insulting that man must be regretted. When that day arrives, the lineage of Nangong and Wulong Villa will no longer appear in martial arts history. At the same time, a terrible thing happened in the village near Wanchipping. People living in this peaceful village, as the Green Forest Congress approaches, more mountain bandits come here. And Jioha and others have also arrived here. And other mountain bandits looked at them, probably only going to a sufficient number of places and not paying attention to anything they fought. Because Harsabik has been trying to confide in him, and because Kyo often takes care of Bat Ka now, she cannot disturb them. He also told her the story of his childhood, and Hasobik cried like a child. She didn't expect such a painful past for a little monster like him. And the leader of Chisha Stronghold also came and reported that Wufanchen Stronghold was attacking them to protect the caravan. But after breaking the Heavenly Demon Lord, he doesn't care about this matter at all, and is it still making people show off their incompetence. And it wasn't long after his village was defeated by Wufanchen village. What do you want to say to me? Is that so? And the Infeng Miaojun, one of the 12 demon kings, was also here. Upon hearing the 5 Wind Spring Stronghold, his face became even hotter, and his veins had already burst from the last insult. He added fuel and vinegar, but was defeated by the Demon Lord because he lost to a boy under 20 years old. He had no choice but to say that he had let the Demon King die drunk at the time and decided to confront Gelha at this Qinglin conference. Half of us will have to give up our position and practice for another 10 years. This means that being beaten by his master over the past decade has been a hell of a world. Although he is unwilling, he still has to accept it. If he wants to face that small word, it will be all over, and he needs to find other ways to do it. The old man had the audacity to come to Wufanchen Stronghold, and they naturally invited him to drink together like family members. But the swollen hoops called brothers made him very spicy. If it weren't for Gala, he would personally punch each of them. The old man was called brother by old Ku and Ten Ku, but he gave an ear, and the old lewd sheep has not yet left. He came to inform them that the Qinglin assembly will start tomorrow and last for 4 days. Then he asked who would first represent the 5 Winds Spring Stronghold and would inform the seat after setting up the list. Everyone turned to Gala, who was of course a calm person. The old man at Rock Danger thought to himself that this group of people is also too foolish. If we cannot defeat him, I will make him unable to participate in the Qinglin conference from the beginning. The next morning, the conference began, and the demon-breaking army announced that from today on, it was not just Li Men, who had bombed the Seven Faces sect, but also the world's first gang. In the future, no one who chooses the right faction can look down on us, Qinglin Changjiabaya. The competition will also begin, and the most prominent will be selected as the protector or the Qinglin sect manager. The owner of Dragon Demon Mountain was the first to rise, and his opponent was the gentry of Beifeng Mountain. This is based on his own chart, which means the whole group is laughing. The bald man was quickly defeated. The boring competition began like this, and Miao Jun on stage was not worried about drinking because he had already made a plan last night. Han said that if Jiao Ha performs too outstandingly at the conference, he must accept the position of the Qinglin sect, and then he will never be able to run back to Wufeng Mountain again. He agreed that this trip was for fun rather than showing off. Watching the excitement of the crowd on stage, Jiaoha also felt itchy and called to urinate with a big knife on his back. This is Chiha. My heart is also aware of this. A monster who once defeated the top martial arts experts of the entire Tianji Immortal sect, now has to stand here and watch how those street-buying plums can bear it. Not long after he left, the experts began to show up. The runner, Davy Mountains Run, confronted Brother Skinhead, who was also a direct disciple of the Demon Lord. Bald-Headed also felt the pressure on him, and he wanted to fight seriously. The whole person emitted a terrifying momentum, and then threw out the 10,000 snake blood peach. Nowadays, countless pythons have caused a sensation. After all, he is just a disciple of the Demon Lord of Breaking Heaven. At the same time, Jiaohe, who was taking a walk, cut down on the ancient tree in front of him due to itching, but a sound rang out, urging him to stop immediately. I almost killed the person hiding behind me, and he didn't feel the existence of this person, nor did he know what he was doing here. Is it a mountain bandit? He just asked to hide in the forest and sleep in, and then kept following him, even at a gathering where the old mountain bandits met. Why don't we young people get to know each other? Then he attacked you with leaves again, and as expected, he is also a master. If his hands itch, stop fighting. He sang loudly as the water lotus used its leaves as a knife to attack him, but Jiaohe flew directly in and smashed the move with a sword. At this moment, the red-eyed head on the ring was celebrating victory, but he didn't know that the runner had not been defeated yet. When a Dr. Webb appears, he can survive. Then he used the poison insect for stunt to stab everyone in the head, causing his brother to tremble. As the 12 Demon Kings, he was completely defeated, which surprised everyone. The 12 Demon Kings were unexpectedly defeated by a group of unknown mountain bandits runners, and their qigong usage has never been seen before. This incident is a bit interesting. The sky-breaking Demon Lord is healing the person who provoked him. He wants to verify the unknown runner's background through breath damage. They must be plotting something. In the hands of the sky-breaking Demon Lord, there is a black spider, and the culprit who broke into it belongs to the Qigong of the demon sect. The Senzazumin Church has not given up on their dreams. They hid in the runner and seized 5 positions as protectors for the Qinglin patrol. This is the so-called 10-headed demon soldiers, who will face 12 demon armies. They want to use Qinglin as an engine for attacking martial arts. At this moment, the Demon Lord of Breaking Heaven remembered Ryursi and shouted, but the little camel master had disappeared from the beginning, and he must immediately send someone to search for him. And these shoes are likely to be in Wufeng Mountain Stronghold, and he has already followed Gaiha all the way over. Otherwise, he brought another pile of wine to compete with him, and he directly sent out the grown wine bottles, which really drained his blood. Everyone must be so stupid, and Gaha also thinks this guy is very interesting. The eldest and second brothers want to stand up for him, but they are both obsessed and disgusted. Thank you, Jaha. My brothers, please stop messing around. He's still staring at the bucket, making her sick. This group of people who don't get drunk and don't return are indeed top-notch. Lao Xan also secretly evaluated himself, saying that he was not from the mountain stronghold, but rather someone who could prepare a pile of famous wine in this majestic mountain range. And now the little helmsman is lying drunk, the quantum is weak and insatiable. From here, Galha can also discover a terrifying aura of the sky-breaking Demon King. And the boss was urinating, and a group of people from Shajai had come up to sneak attack him. Because he was drunk, the boss was easily knocked down. They still wanted to drown him, but it made the boss wake up, and then a river came up and was blown up. They thought the leader of Wufeng Stronghold was just a fool, but turning right was a bit tight, while the leader of Sha Stronghold only knew that the river was coming. The unarmed boss cannot use martial arts, but the hidden power inside him is divine power. Throw a big stone out and let a little boy from the sand camp eat. At this moment, he let out another cry, as if he had misunderstood something, and the terrifying person above appeared. I can't believe I had the opportunity to see this interesting scene. You should be blamed for showing me an interesting scene on the arena instead of here, because you can see the power of the Five Peaks Rancher, Han, and the dead shadow of the Demon Lord. Seeing your divine power, I am even more convinced that the stronghold leader is the person of the demon sect who rushed to attack that night. The leader has already disappeared. Today is the last day of the Qinglin conference, and several demon cults have also begun to appear, directly charging onto the stage to challenge the 12 demon kings. Do they want to defeat them, weaken their reputation, and divide the interior of Qinglin? At the same time, the people of Wufeng Mountain Stronghold were also searching for the stronghold leader, but they couldn't find it. They only found the stronghold leader of Sha Village here. After a gentle interrogation, he also had to confess that his boss was seriously injured and had lost too much blood. They finally found their master by the river. Although drowsy, the boss was still breathing, which made the monster really angry, because the person who shot the boss was kneeling under the shadow of the demon lord Da Dz, the demon lord who broke the sky. Han also told the Sand Stronghold leader that he was waiting for you on the challenge arena, saying that this was seeking death. At the same time, the village leader returned to the Qinglin assembly to resolve everyone's misunderstanding of her father, but she was already panicked. On the boxing ring, the 12 demon kings have lost to the demon cults, and the reputation of the Qinglin sect is being overthrown. At this moment, a terrifying expression appeared behind the small stronghold leader, who walked straight onto the boxing ring and could challenge the demon cults with just one move. Then he shouted loudly, the shadow demon lord kneels down and comes out, accompanied by a powerful breath that shakes everything. He also shouted that he was the demon sect hidden in the Green Forest Assembly, and they finally revealed their faces. Then he directly rushed onto the stage to attack him. As soon as the sword was wielded in the afternoon, he couldn't help but understand how such an old man could have such great power. However, he is also very confident because his master has directly transferred him to teach the Dark Sky Shurachin Sutra. When all of him suddenly surged, a kneeling shadow soul made Jianmeng's movements so terrifying that no one could withstand this blow. He kept attacking him with the heavenly sword, but it was impermeable. The smoke cleared and Jiaoha's figure still stood like a statue. Everything will be horizontal, because except for the demon lord who breaks the sky, Kneeling Shadow is the strongest person in the Qinglin. If it weren't for the top 10 experts who couldn't stop the heavenly sword just now, this red-haired guy would be so terrifying. Kneeling on his face, be prepared to face the anger of a real monster. The fourth move of the 9 Heaven Sword technique has already released the beacon fire pancake, and the kneeling shadow of the heavenly sword has been sucked into it. The terrifying movement shook everyone away, and the kneeling figure's body couldn't move at this moment. He even punched him down from the arena. Gala had not finished discharging the fire yet, so he wiped it directly until he lay on the ground before stopping. When you try to kill him, you must destroy the demon army. At this moment, Mr. Peng's people were coming, but everything became a battlefield. The demon lord of breaking heaven advises you to stop. It seems like enough, let's call it a day. You know that a master-apprentice relationship is like a mother's love. If you want to kill your family, you can only stand up. Galha is even more angry now that you touched my family first. Why can't I touch your family? If he is a scammer, don't blame me for being careless. Gyara's sword hit the second move of the heavenly sword, Dragon Martial Sky, while the demon lord of breaking the sky directly rubbed the body of the dark sky cultivator. Gala felt that his terrifying strength was several times stronger than Chuanji, and he was directly pushed off his heavy body, landing on the wall. And the demon lord also confirmed that he was not a demon cult, but he did not know what this terrifying power was. Gale wiped again. This time he was about to launch the 8th form heavenly sword and transform into a dragon. When such a strong current struck, it startled everyone. The sky-breaking demon king also wanted to unleash all his strength, so Shura wiped over from behind. This terrifying scene has never been seen by anyone. The two of them are constantly fighting in the air, and the demon lord seems to be very happy because he remembers that he was also arrogant when he was young. He exerted all his might to force him to land on the ring, and with a loud vibration, the entire place seemed to be destroyed. Just as Galha wanted to continue the battle, old Xan brought his boss Bang here, and his injuries were no longer dangerous. Gala wanted to kill the kneeling shadow demon lord, but was stopped by the boss. It's time to go home now. The administrator immediately announced that the Qinglin conference had come to an end, and everything was in ruins. For the first time, Riel West saw a person who could face his father so beautiful that our girl had already fallen in love with him. Whether dad gets angry or runs after the beautiful bottle. That night, kneeling in front of the photo of the demon lord, he apologized to the boss, Bang, because he misunderstood that they were members of the demon sect. The boss finally gave him a favor, and Riera is also chatting with the Breaking Demon Army. He announced that you will become the patrol captain of Qinglin, but your face doesn't look very good. The second part is over, the first part is over, like a bear.